Chapter 11 Original Intention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everything in the tomb is clearly displayed in the Haotian mirror, everyone can see clearly what they are doing. Some people go in and frantically look for the location according to the gossip they got in advance. When faced with requests for help from other fellow disciples around them, they say that they will lose if they look at you for more than a second, let alone help, but on the other hand, Chu Xinghe accepts all requests for help from fellow disciples. In this comparison, the difference is obvious. My Haotian sect is ranked first in the world, and all the disciples are gifted. But while talent is important, character also determines the future. What do you think? That the elder's voice was very soft, but it was clearly heard by every elder. During the master's retreat, the elder took charge of the sect's affairs and naturally managed every elder. Although the elder did not say it clearly at this moment, everyone understood the meaning of his words. This is equivalent to telling everyone, take a look, what the hell are these disciples you selected doing? Each of them abandoned their fellow disciples for their own sake. Is this the disciple you chose? The great elder taught us a lesson. We will definitely change our ways. Many elders were ashamed. This is a comparison. When the spirit tomb was opened before, everyone was about the same, so naturally no one said anything. But today, Chu Xinghe's performance was too dazzling, so that everyone else suddenly became a foil. The most frustrating thing is that for Chu Xinghe, this child, many elders can't say anything even if they are criticized by the great elder. What to say? Blame Chu Xinghe for helping his fellow disciples? Although the Haotian sect is divided into many mountains and palaces, the Haotian sect has always been an extremely united sect. It is no accident that it can become the #1 sect in the world. However, these newly minted disciples obviously don't understand this. They only think about themselves, but forget that the spirit tomb meeting is not a martial arts competition, and they have to fight to the death. The people around them are not enemies or opponents, but fellow disciples who are of the same blood. In the spiritual tomb, the girls from Qilin Palace followed Chu Xinghe's footsteps, and not only them, but more and more people followed Chu Xinghe's footsteps. Everyone was convinced by this core disciple who was willing to spend his own time to help his fellow disciples lead the way. Otherwise, he was called a core disciple, and he was really kind and righteous. My fellow junior brothers and sisters, I am also entering the spiritual tomb for the first time like you. Although I have heard some senior brothers talk about the things in the spiritual tomb, I don't know much. The selection of spiritual weapons depends on your own fate. I will lead the way for you, but what kind of spiritual weapons you can get in the end depends on whether you have the fate with the spiritual weapons. If you don't get the spiritual weapons that satisfy you, please don't blame me. Chu Xinghe's words immediately made the junior brothers and sisters behind him tearful. Brother Xinghe's kindness is in our hearts. Brother Xinghe, you don't need to do this. You have done your best to lead the way for us. Brother Xinghe is so handsome. Wan Lin followed Chu Xinghe with stars in her eyes. She was just trying to give it a try, but she didn't expect that Brother Xinghe would be so kind. Under the leadership of Chu Xinghe, everyone moved forward, and as they continued to move forward, the types of spiritual weapons around them gradually increased. It was obvious that this road should be correct. There are thousands of roads in the spiritual tomb, and some may even lead to places where there are no spiritual weapons at all, so it is very troublesome to take the wrong road. The road that Chu Xinghe took was exactly the route he had obtained before, but Chu Xinghe was not going to take everyone to the final location of the magic sword, but soon, with a turn in front, Chu Xinghe found the place he was looking for. This place is a little different from other places, because there was a stone tablet in front of everyone. Spirit Pool. Wan Lin saw the words on the stone tablet in front clearly, and everyone knew about this spiritual pool. The spirit pond is the most central area of the entire spirit tomb. It is also the location of the earliest spirit tomb of the Haotian sect. When the ancestors of the Haotian sect died, their spirit weapons also fell into the spirit pond. When seeing the spirit pond, Chu Xinghe said, "This is it. You can choose the spirit weapons you need here." Chu Xinghe pointed to the location of the spirit pond, but as soon as these words fell, countless people around, including Wan Lin, were stunned. Brother Xinghe, don't you know where this is? Wan Lin was stunned. I know, the spirit pool. Why did Senior Brother Xinghe let us choose spiritual weapons here? Yes. The spirit pool is the earliest location of the Haotian sect's spiritual tomb, and the spiritual weapons here are also the oldest batch. That's right, many of these spiritual weapons are even damaged, and even those that are not damaged are the worst. What does Senior Brother Xinghe mean by this? Choosing spiritual weapons here. Isn't this cheating people? For a moment, the surroundings were in chaos. As everyone said, the earliest spiritual pool of the Haotian sect contained the spiritual weapons of the earliest ancestors of the Haotian sect, but at the same time, the Haotian sect at that time was not the world's #1 sect. The spiritual weapons in the spirit pool of the Haotian sect at that time were far less rich and diverse than they are now, so whether it was the ability of the spiritual weapons or other things, they were not as good as they are now. Chu Xinghe asked everyone to choose here, which was obviously cheating people. For a moment, everyone looked at Chu Xinghe with confusion and anger. You said you would lead the way, what do you mean by cheating everyone? Not to mention the Tomb of Spirits. At this moment in the Haotian palace, the faces of the great elders and many elders in front of the Haotian mirror also changed greatly, because no one expected that Chu Xinghe would bring everyone to this place, and they agreed to benevolent and righteous. Woolen cloth. Isn't this a clear deception? In the spiritual tomb, Wan Lin also looked puzzled. What on earth is Senior Brother Xinghe doing? Is this obvious to everyone? The disciples around him were getting more and more excited, and some of them even had bad tempers and were ready to curse. They said that even if Chu Xinghe is a core disciple, if he harms everyone in this way, they will jointly file a lawsuit so that Chu Xinghe can't bear the consequences. Shut up, everyone! In the middle of the noise, Chu Xinghe roared loudly. The roar shook the surroundings and successfully suppressed all the sounds. Do you think I'm trying to harm you? Let you choose the worst spiritual soldier. Chu Xinghe's words caused countless people to nod. Ha 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 ha, sad, this is simply the greatest sadness in the world. Chu Xinghe had a sad look on his face and slowly opened his mouth as he glanced across the audience. Thousands of years ago, our Haotian sect's first-generation founder, Emperor Haotian, walked out of a small mountain village. The ancestor did not have unparalleled talents or any magical weapons, but he founded the Haotian sect by himself. In the following hundreds of years, countless sects in the world rose and fell in the long river of history, but our Haotian sect has risen from a small and unknown sect to face the difficulties and overcome all obstacles. 400 years ago, the 10th generation of our Haotian sect, the great Emperor Haotian, was born. He was a prodigy who beheaded demons and killed evil kings. On that day, there were 4 words on the gate of our Haotian sect, the most powerful emperor in the world. 1. For the next 400 years, our Haotian sect has been sitting as the #1 sect in the world, and no one has ever been able to shake it. But today, I want to ask all of you, my brothers and sisters, who still remembers the first generation of Emperor Haotian? What are the spiritual weapons? What are the spiritual weapons of the 10th generation of Emperor Haotian? That the whole place was silent. Let me tell you. The first generation of Emperor Haotian's spiritual weapon is called the Black Iron Sword. It's the one in front of you. Chu Xinghe pointed to the spiritual weapon stuck at the highest point behind him. Thousands of years have passed, it has long been modeled and damaged, but it is these modeled and damaged buildings that tell the story of its former glory. And the spiritual weapon of the 10th generation of Emperor Haotian is called the Mercury Sword. It is also an unknown spiritual weapon, right in front of you. Chu Xinghe pointed at the Mercury Sword again. It still looked like a lackluster weapon. Spirit soldiers everywhere. After thousands of years, from being unknown to being at the top now, how many people still remember the past? It's so sad. Chu Xinghe looked heartbroken. We enter Haotian sect and come to the spiritual tomb. We choose our own spiritual soldiers, but are we just here to choose spiritual soldiers? No. We come to pay homage to the past left by our ancestors and to understand the glory of our ancestors. Today, when you look at these spiritual soldiers in front of you, you actually tell me that these are garbage? But who of you remember that every one of them followed their master to fight for the Haotian sect until the end? Quiet. At this moment, there was silence in the tomb. The road to practice is difficult as climbing to the sky. A spiritual weapon can make our path of practice much easier. But ask yourself, the 10th generation Haotian emperor can still lead the Haotian sect to the top with the Mercury sword in his hand. Why should we can't? 400 years ago, our ancestors did not have magical weapons, but they could still bring Haotian sect the reputation of being the best in the world. But today, 400 years later, you are standing here one by one, but you only want to just by getting a spiritual weapon to make your cultivation path smoother. Are you worthy of being disciples of the Haotian sect? Quiet. At this moment, not only was the spiritual tomb quiet, but even the front of the Haotian mirror was quiet. The great elder and many elders were all lost in thought. 400 years ago, it was the peak era of the Haotian sect. To this day, the Haotian sect never seems to be able to surpass its peak. Everyone is asking why. The Haotian sect has more resources than before, and the qualifications of its disciples are better than before, but it can't recreate the glory of the past. Why? And today, Chu Xinghe gave everyone the answer. Original intention. We have all forgotten our original intention. We want to get stronger spiritual soldiers, and we all want to get more resources, but in the path of cultivation, foreign objects are foreign objects after all. Only by finding the original intention can we regain our glory. Now I ask you, do you still think about this spiritual pool? Are the spirit soldiers here ordinary? Chu Xinghe finished speaking in one breath, with tears streaming down his face. As the saying goes, if you want to deceive, if you want to move others, you must first move yourself. Regardless of whether they believe it or not, you believe it anyway. Window_Taboola equals window_Taboola_Taboola.push mode, thumbs, feed, 01, container, Taboola below article feed, placement, below article feed, target_type, mix. Chapter 12, Big Game. Haotian Sword Box. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Only by keeping the original intention can you achieve the end. The elder said these 8 words silently, and looked up at Chu Xinghe in the Haotian mirror. Chu Xinghe looked at the countless disciples who were lost in thought, and knew that he had to add more fuel to the fire if he wanted to succeed now. 400 years ago, our ancestors reached the peak without external things, so why can't we do the same today? Do you think you are worse than others? No. It was Wan Lin who spoke, and the little girl was already in tears. As Wan Lin spoke, more shouts suddenly appeared around him. Senior Brother Xinghe. I was wrong. I thought that Senior Brother Xinghe was deliberately pitting us, but I didn't expect that Senior Brother Xinghe's realm was far beyond ours. 400 years ago, our ancestors relied on these spiritual weapons to build our current country. Today, we have forgotten the will of our ancestors and only pursue external objects. Senior Brother Xinghe is right. The road of cultivation is full of thorns and thorns. External objects can help us, but if we only pursue external objects, how can we reach the peak? A young man who was fooling around walked out of the crowd and came directly to the spiritual pool. He grabbed a spiritual weapon on the edge of the spiritual pool. The dust on the spiritual weapon was scattered, as if responding to him. With a flash of light, the spiritual weapon recognized the master. With the first one, the rest will be easy. Wan Lin also walked out of the crowd, first bowed deeply to Chu Xinghe, and then walked up, selected her spiritual weapon, and got her life's spiritual weapon. Some people came up to get the spiritual weapon one after another, but more people were still waiting and watching at this time. Seeing this scene, Chu Xinghe gritted his teeth and stamped his feet. As the saying goes, you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a child. Isn't it just a spiritual weapon? I just said it, it's just an external object. I don't want the magic sword today. I won't stop until I fool you. Chu Xinghe stepped to the front of the spiritual pool and looked at these ordinary spiritual weapons in front of him. Without much hesitation, he locked his eyes on a spiritual sword that looked pretty good. Chu Xinghe had made a decision. The road of cultivation is full of thorns. I have hesitated, but I have never retreated. After speaking, Chu Xinghe stepped forward, seeing that Chu Xinghe was also going to choose the spiritual weapon here. The eyes of the disciples who were still hesitating suddenly became firm. Senior Brother Xinghe is a core disciple with a bright future, but he has the courage to practice with himself without relying on external objects. As he said, even if the road of cultivation is full of thorns and he has hesitated, he has never retreated. Perhaps this is the real road of cultivation. Even Senior Brother Xinghe has made such a choice. What else can we hesitate about? At that moment, countless people dispelled the last bit of doubt and walked towards the spirit pool. They chose a bunch of spirit weapons and became their lifelong partners. Although the level of these spirit weapons was very low, everyone who got them had an extremely firm look in their eyes. Chu Xinghe watched more and more people make choices and knew that he had to bleed today. Chu Xinghe gritted his teeth and stomped his feet, and directly grabbed the ordinary spirit sword in front of him. After getting the spirit sword, Chu Xinghe raised the spirit sword and sang to the sky. The rock rises with the wind one day, soaring up to 90,000 miles. Today, we are the generation. Create glory again. Today, we are the generation. Create glory again. At this moment, everyone shouted with Chu Xinghe, but just when Chu Xinghe used his spiritual energy to make the spirit sword in his hand recognize the master, something strange happened. Swoosh! The spirit sword in Chu Xinghe's hand was controlled by an unknown force, and the spirit sword actually broke away from Chu Xinghe's palm and flew into the air and reinserted into its original position. At the same time as the spirit sword was inserted back, strange sounds appeared around. Buzz buzz buzz. A sound came, and all the spirit weapons in the spirit pool began to shake. This scene made Chu Xinghe confused. What was going on? But in front of the Haotian mirror, the elders and others saw this scene and exclaimed. The magic sword is born. All spirits return together. The elder widened his eyes. There are 10 magic swords in the Haotian sect spirit pool, and every time a magic sword recognizes its master, countless spirit weapons will shake together. It is the birth of the magic sword, and all spirits return together. But there is no magic sword here at this time. What is going on? Soon the elder found something wrong. There are more than 10,000 spirits in the spirit seeds of the Haotian sect. There are also hundreds of thousands and millions. These are all the spirit weapons collected in the past 1,000 years. According to the previous situation of the birth of the magic sword, there will be many spirit weapons shaking together, but there is no magic sword in the area where Chu Xinghe is. Why are these spirit weapons shaking? Moreover, many elders soon discovered that not only the spiritual weapons at the location of Chu Xinghe were vibrating, but all the spiritual weapons in the entire spiritual tomb began to vibrate, including those spiritual weapons that had already recognized their master, and this vibration was not only in the spiritual tomb. Soon, with the spiritual tomb as the center, the spiritual weapons in the hands of all the people in the entire Haotian sect began to vibrate. Not only ordinary disciples, but also the great elder found that the soul-destroying sword, one of his 10 great swords, flew out of his body completely out of control. The soul-destroying sword was suspended in the air and vibrated along with it. At this moment, it seemed as if something between heaven and earth was attracting the entire Haotian sect, and all the spiritual weapons were vibrating in the direction of the spiritual tomb. What's going on? Many elders were dumbfounded. They had never encountered such a situation before. The birth of the magic sword will make all spirits vibrate, but what does it mean that the spiritual weapons of the entire Haotian sect are vibrating? Boom! Just when everyone was surprised at what happened, a roar came from the spiritual tomb, and the next moment the stone pillar in the center of the spiritual pond exploded. 1 way, 2 ways, 3 ways, 9 rays of light of different colors soared into the sky from the exploded stone pillars. The 9 rays of light were incredibly fast, but they all arrived at the same position in an instant, which was where Chu Xinghe was. For a moment, the 9 rays of light circled crazily around Chu Xinghe, as if they were cheering. Along with the 9 divine lights, a white light also flew out from the exploded stone pillar. Haotian sword box. This is Haotian sword box. The great elder exclaimed at this time, and the expressions of the group of elders behind him changed greatly. The Haotian sect has 10 divine swords, which are famous all over the world, but only a few people know that the 10 divine swords of the Haotian sect are not the strongest spiritual weapons of the Haotian sect. The strongest spiritual weapon of the Haotian sect is the Haotian sword box obtained by the 10th generation of Emperor Haotian in his later years. There are 9 ancient magic weapons in this sword box. Even the 10th generation Emperor Haotian only got it but could not use it, so in the end Emperor Haotian named the sword box Haotian sword box and sealed it in Haotian. From then on, he became the strongest spiritual soldier in the Tianzong spiritual tomb to suppress the millions of spiritual soldiers of the Haotian sect. For 400 years, every generation of powerful men in the Haotian sect has tried to communicate with the Haotian sword box, but there has never been any response from the Haotian sword box hidden in the stone pillars. Everyone finally gave up on things that even Emperor Haotian couldn't do back then, but today. The Haotian sword box broke out of the ground, and after 400 years, the 9 swords came out together to dance for Chu Xinghe. The artifact appears in this world, and all souls congratulate it. The entire spiritual tomb and all the spiritual soldiers of the entire Haotian sect were worshipping in the direction of the Haotian sword box. The elders before Haotian mirror's eyes were about to pop out at this moment. No one thought that Chu Xinghe's declaration of not changing his original intention and moving forward bravely would actually trigger the Haotian sword box and make the Haotian sword box willing to recognize its owner. 9 rays of divine light are constantly flowing around Chu Xinghe. Locusts, Rakage, Xian Jian, Bai Hong, wrap your fingers softly, a line of sky, but evil, broken star, Ding Hai. Each of the 9 divine swords has unique attributes and extraordinary abilities, and the strength of each one is even higher than the top 10 divine swords of the Haotian sect. At this time, the 9 divine swords were constantly rotating around Chu Xinghe, and countless rays of light spread crazily around the Haotian sword box. In an instant, all the disciples around Chu Xinghe who had obtained the spiritual weapon were covered by the light of the divine sword. For a moment, they seemed to have been cast on a body-holding technique, and they stood still. The sword box recognizes its master and benefits all living beings. They all entered enlightenment, that the great elder exclaimed again when he saw this scene, and everyone in the spiritual tomb felt as if they were being pulled into an independent world and began to enter a state of enlightenment. Not only did they enter the epiphany, but the spiritual soldiers in their hands also began to emit a dazzling light and actually began to merge with them. The sword box comes out. Benefit all living beings, the spiritual weapons merge with the soul. These little guys are now prosperous, that the spiritual soldiers in everyone's hands were integrated with their souls. For a time, the spiritual soldiers in their hands were even brighter, and they and the spiritual soldiers also reached a state of coexistence. In this way, although their spiritual soldiers the level is not high, but he can follow his master to continuously improve himself, which makes every spiritual weapon a treasure. For a moment, the entire spiritual tomb was in chaos. Those who had previously made up their minds to get the spiritual weapons all had an epiphany, but those who hesitated, now had no chance to benefit at all. They rushed to the spiritual pond again to get it. Spirit soldiers, but it's too late. Wan Lin was the first to wake up. At this time, she looked at the spiritual soldiers who were in harmony with her soul, and she almost jumped with excitement. What kind of spiritual soldier is the best in this world? Is it Excalibur? No. The divine sword is powerful, but the spiritual weapon that can fuse with your soul is your strongest partner. It will never betray you or let you down. Today, Wan Lin never imagined that he would get a soul-fused spiritual weapon. They are all Senior Brother Xinghe. What Senior Brother Xinghe said was recognized by the Haotian sword box, and the sword box also brought the greatest benefits to all those who share the same goals with Senior Brother Xinghe. Wan Lin and other people who got the spirit weapon and fused it were all ecstatic, while those who hesitated to get the spirit weapon were so depressed that they almost vomited blood. This was such a huge opportunity. How could I miss it? Senior Brother Xinghe had such good intentions, why didn't he understand it? Buzz. A tremor came again, and all 9 swords flew into the Haotian sword box, and the Haotian sword box also flew in front of Chu Xinghe, and the sword box flashed directly into Chu Xinghe's left shoulder. The sword box turned into a mark and remained in Chu Xinghe's body. Haotian sword box. You actually recognized its owner? Just as everyone watched the Haotian sword box drill into Chu Xinghe's arm to recognize its owner, a voice shook the sky, and a figure came from the mountain stepping into the void. The world under the figure's feet seemed to have been crushed by his feet. When he appeared again, he had already appeared in front of the Haotian mirror in the Haotian hall. Meet the sect master. Everyone, including the great elder, saluted the visitor, and he is the leader of the Haotian sect, the Haotian martial emperor Gu Mingqiao, who is known as the #1 martial artist in the world today. But at this time, Gu Mingqiao didn't care about the many elders at all, but stared at the Haotian mirror, looking at Chu Xinghe, who was recognized as the master of the Haotian sword box in the Haotian mirror. Chapter 13, One Step to Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gu Mingqiao was in a deadly state. Unless there was something that he couldn't solve in the Haotian sect, he would never come out. Even when the Haotian sect's Hongzhong rang 9 times before, Gu Mingqiao didn't pay much attention to it, but today, Gu Mingqiao came out. Because the Haotian sword box not only attracted the great elder's soul-destroying sword, but also Gu Mingqiao's sky-lifting sword, Gu Mingqiao knew that the only thing in the Haotian sect that could attract the divine sword to bow down was the legendary Haotian sword box. But when he saw everything in the Ling tomb through the Haotian mirror with his own eyes, Gu Mingqiao was still shocked by everything in front of him, even though he was prepared. The legendary Haotian sword box, which even the Haotian emperor couldn't subdue, chose to recognize its master today, and this master was not some peerless strong man, but a disciple who had just entered the sect. After all, only disciples who had just entered the sect could enter the Ling tomb, but soon Gu Mingqiao found something wrong. The disciple who got the Haotian sword box was wearing clothes unique to core disciples. So, he is a core disciple. But Gu Mingqiao remembered that among the disciples who entered the Haotian sect, although there were several outstanding ones, they were only reserve elite disciples. When did the core disciples appear among this batch of disciples? You know, core disciples are different from elite disciples. Elite disciples can be directly appointed by the elders of each palace, but to become core disciples, there are only 2 people in the entire Haotian sect who have this power. One is him, Gu Mingqiao, and the other is the elder. So Gu Mingqiao looked at the elder for the first time. He wanted to know what happened during his retreat. Congratulations to the sect master for coming out of retreat. Seeing Gu Mingqiao's dazed eyes, how could the elder not know what the sect master was thinking? And when he saw Chu Xinghe in the Haotian mirror, the elder was proud. Then the elder also reported to the sect master everything that happened during this period. From the time when the Hongzhong sounded 9 times, Chu Xinghe was willing to take the blame for his fellow countrymen, to the reappearance of the Suzaku spirit fire in the Suzaku hall 400 years later, then, the Suzaku furnace. Fire burned the Medicine King Palace, the Suzaku communicated with the Medicine Saint, and now the Haotian sword box in the Lingzhong recognized its master. After listening to the words of the elder, Gu Mingqiao felt his head buzzing. So many things happened in the sect during his retreat. Such a heaven-defying disciple appeared. What made Gu Mingqiao even more unbelievable was that Chu Xinghe was a disciple of the Lingyi palace where the elder was. It was understandable that the elder praised Chu Xinghe to the sky, but after the elder finished speaking, other elders also followed suit and praised him, which really surprised Gu Mingqiao. From the mouths of other elders, Gu Mingqiao had a deeper understanding of Chu Xinghe. He was extremely talented, possessed the Suzaku spirit fire, and obtained the Medicine Saint inheritance, and now he also got the Haotian sword box. But in addition to his talent, this child's character and disposition were unanimously recognized by many elders. The Haotian sect has never lacked the pride of heaven, but the disciple who can be recognized by almost all the elders is really the first in the Haotian sect. For a moment, Gu Mingqiao was full of interest in Chu Xinghe. What kind of little guy is this? In the spiritual tomb, the moment the Haotian sword box merged into Chu Xinghe's body, Chu Xinghe's shackles of being a first-grade warrior were finally broken, and his spiritual power suddenly surged. Chu Xinghe also successfully entered the realm of a second-grade martial artist. Only when he reached this step could he truly step into the path of cultivation. Chu Xinghe was not the only one who entered the second grade. At this moment, all the disciples who believed in Chu Xinghe and chose spiritual weapons here not only merged their souls with spiritual weapons, but also completed a breakthrough in epiphany and entered the second grade in one fell swoop. Wan Lin will never forget the kindness of Senior Brother Xinghe. Wan Lin's chest was so excited that he rose and fell, and he bowed to Chu Xinghe at 90 degrees. We will never forget the kindness of Senior Brother Xinghe. Behind Wan Lin, more awakened disciples also saluted Chu Xinghe with gratitude, but facing the gratitude of so many people, Chu Xinghe didn't know whether he should cry or laugh, actually. I just wanted to trick you guys, who would have thought of tricking you but tricked out the Haotian sword box. I originally wanted to trick so many disciples at once, and when they all reacted, they would make a scene. If they really got to the sect master, I guess even the great elder couldn't save himself since so many disciples were tricked by me. Even if I wasn't expelled from the sect, I would still be punished severely, but now, the Haotian sword box was tricked out, and because the Haotian sword box benefited all living beings, those who should have been tricked became the biggest beneficiaries of this. But then again, I was more or less satisfied with getting the Haotian sword box this time. Senior Brother Xinghe, please help the rest of us. Someone else spoke up at this moment, and these people were the ones who were not successfully fooled just now. Because they hesitated and didn't choose the spiritual soldiers here, they were naturally excluded when the Haotian sword box recognized its master and benefited all living beings. They were originally planning to wait and see, but this wait and see made them miss a great opportunity. Now they all regretted it. Humph. You guys still have the nerve to speak. Senior Brother Xinghe led the way for us and opened up such an opportunity for us. But you actually still suspect that Senior Brother Xinghe has ulterior motives. Now you dare to ask Senior Brother Xinghe to help you when you are bringing shame upon yourself. That Wan Lin couldn't stand it anymore. Senior Brother Xinghe created such an opportunity for everyone, but these people missed it and still begged Senior Brother Xinghe here. They really didn't care about their face. In fact, Wan Lin had suspected that Senior Brother Xinghe might have ulterior motives at the beginning. But now the result has explained everything. Moreover, when selecting the spiritual weapon just now, Senior Brother Xinghe didn't know the existence of the Haotian sword box at all. He chose the same ordinary spiritual weapon as everyone else, but everything Senior Brother Xinghe did moved the Haotian sword box. The Haotian sword box chose to recognize Senior Brother Xinghe as its master. Senior Brother Xinghe, who did so much for everyone, was actually distrusted by these people. Wan Lin wanted to slap them in the face. At this point, those who didn't get the spiritual weapon were extremely regretful in their hearts. Why didn't I trust Senior Brother Xinghe? Senior Brother Xinghe's character was known to the whole sect. If I had chosen to trust Senior Brother Xinghe, I would definitely have got the spiritual weapon of soul unity now. They also know that there is no regret medicine in this world. At this moment, they can only swear silently that they will fight wherever Senior Brother Xinghe points in the future, and they will never dare to have the slightest doubt about Senior Brother Xinghe. My fellow brothers, I cannot control the benefit of this Haotian sword box to all living beings. At this point, I can only say sorry to everyone, but there is still some time now. Everyone can continue to move forward to find their favorite spiritual weapons. As I said, the road of cultivation is full of thorns. We may have hesitated, but I believe we have never retreated. As soon as Chu Xinghe said this, a warm applause rang out all around. Wan Lin was in tears. Listen, this is the realm. Senior Brother Xinghe's realm has long surpassed ours. Even in the face of those who doubt and distrust him, Senior Brother Xinghe has no complaints at all. Even at this time, he is still willing to guide them. This is simply a peerless good brother. Although countless people who did not get the spiritual weapon were full of regrets in their hearts, they still embarked on the road to continue to seek spiritual weapons. Chu Xinghe guided them on the right path, and perhaps he could give them some help. When Chu Xinghe and a group of disciples who had obtained spiritual weapons came out of the spiritual tomb happily, many elders of Haotian sect, including sect master Chu Xinghe, were already standing at the entrance of the spiritual tomb. Disciple greets sect master and elders. Chu Xinghe led everyone to pay a disciple's respect to a group of big men. Chu Xinghe nodded slightly. Get up. Thank you, sect master. After everyone stood up, Chu Xinghe and all the elders' eyes fell on Chu Xinghe. especially Gu Mingqiao. He had an impression of all the slightly better disciples of Haotian sect, but he really didn't remember Chu Xinghe at all. However, for a person to rise in such a short time, Gu Mingqiao believed that they must have neglected it at that time. This time Chu Xinghe got the Haotian sword box. It is God bless Haotian. The elder's face was smiling like a chrysanthemum. God bless Haotian. The other elders also spoke together. Xinghe, take out your Haotian sword box and let us have a look. The elder walked up to Chu Xinghe and spoke with a proud look on his face. Yes. Chu Xinghe did not say much. Under the influence of his spiritual power, his left arm moved to a position where white light burst out. The white light turned into a Haotian sword box suspended in the air in front of Chu Xinghe. Flying locust. Chu Xinghe moved his mind, and a yellow light flew out of the sword box. The flying locust quickly came to Chu Xinghe. The shape of the flying locust was not that of an ordinary sword, but that of an oval stone. However, during its flight, sword rays were automatically generated on its surface. This was the first flying locust among the 9 swords in the Haotian sword box. It was also the only one Chu Xinghe could use now. However, when the flying locust appeared, everyone at the scene, including Gu Mingqiao, changed their expressions. Flying sword. This is the flying sword in the legend. Everyone looked at the flying locust that followed Chu Xinghe's thoughts with disbelief. Flying sword, that is something that only exists in legends, a sword chasing souls thousands of miles away. Today, the world has only the legend of flying swords. The Haotian sect has 10 great swords, and the first one is the sky-clearing sword in the hands of the sect master. However, even the sky-clearing sword, even in the hands of the sect master, can only control the sword for a short time at most. But that is not the ability of the sky-clearing sword itself, but Gu Mingqiao's cultivation is too powerful. He can control the sword with his body, but the sky-clearing sword cannot leave the sect master too far away. But the flying locust is completely different. The flying locust is a real flying sword, and even the 9 swords in the Haotian sword box are all flying swords. Gu Mingqiao can't imagine that if Chu Xinghe really controls the Haotian sword box one day, it will be a terrifying scene when the 9 swords come out at the same time. The 10th generation Haotian emperor is definitely the strongest existence in the entire history of the Haotian sect, but even he couldn't subdue the Haotian sword box back then, and today the Haotian sword box actually recognizes Chu Xinghe as its master. This may be the will of heaven. Xinghe, although my Haotian sect does not have the art of flying swords, I have also studied the way of swordsmanship for half my life. Are you willing to become my direct disciple and learn swordsmanship from me? Gu Mingqiao spoke, and this sentence made the scene fall into a dead silence. Sect master, want to accept Chu Xinghe as a direct disciple? A step to heaven. Chapter 14 The Strongest Kung Fu, Haotian Fighting Will. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Haotian sect occupies the entire Haotian mountains, in which the Haotian sect is divided into 18 palaces, but above the 18 palaces there is the Haotian palace where the sect leader is located. The disciples of Haotian sect will practice with the elders in the 18 palaces, but Haotian palace is different. There are no elite disciples or core disciples in Haotian palace. Haotian palace will only have direct disciples of the sect master. Gu Mingqiao took over as the leader of this generation of Haotian sect 30 years ago, but he has never accepted any disciples in these 30 years. But who would have thought that today, he would take the initiative to accept Chu Xinghe as his direct disciple? Everyone on the scene was stunned, the sect master's only direct disciple. What an honor! There is another name for the sect master's direct disciples. Chief disciple. That's right, the sect leader's direct disciple is the chief disciple of the Haotian sect. Gu Mingqiao has not accepted a disciple for 30 years. Chu Xinghe's acquisition of the Haotian sword box today finally impressed Gu Mingqiao. Gu Mingqiao planned to pass on his mantle as a disciple. If he can inherit Gu Mingqiao's mantle, then in the future, everyone was moved, and countless people's eyes fell on Chu Xinghe. At this moment, as long as Chu Xinghe nodded, he would become the sect master's personal disciple and become the chief disciple of Haotian sect's generation. I'm sorry, sect master, I don't want to be your direct disciple. What the hell? Everyone was stunned for a moment, including Gu Mingqiao, who looked at Chu Xinghe in disbelief. Rejected? Chu Xinghe actually refused. He refused to become the sect master's personal disciple, and refused the opportunity to become the chief disciple. Crazy, this guy is definitely crazy. Even the great elder looked at Chu Xinghe in disbelief. When the sect leader wanted to accept Chu Xinghe as his direct disciple, to be honest, the great elder was a little resistant. After all, he didn't want Chu Xinghe to leave Linghe Palace for such an outstanding disciple, but thinking about Chu Xinghe's future, the great elder did not speak after all. After all, becoming the sect leader's direct disciple would have the opportunity to become the next sect leader in the future. The great elder did not want Chu Xinghe to miss this opportunity. Even the great elder thought Chu Xinghe would nod in agreement, but he never expected. Chu Xinghe refused. Sect master, I was born in a small place called Haotian village. My parents died when I was young. I grew up eating a lot of food. Being able to join the Haotian sect is the most proud thing in my life. In the Haotian sect, I feel the warmth of my fellow disciples, and even the great elder made me feel the warmth of home and the care of my parents for the first time. On the day I entered Linghe Palace, I silently told myself that the great elder regarded me as his own. I also regard the great elder as my parents. Once I am a teacher, I will always be my father. I will stay in Linghe Palace to serve the great elder. Chu Xinghe spoke in a leisurely manner, but after the words fell, the whole place fell silent. When Chu Xinghe rejected the sect leader, everyone thought he was crazy. What kind of opportunity was this to achieve success? But after hearing Chu Xinghe's words, even Gu Mingqiao couldn't help but be moved. Faced with the opportunity to become his disciple Gu Mingqiao, countless people in the world tried to get in, but Chu Xinghe did not forget his roots. When Gu Mingqiao heard that Chu Xinghe shouted in the tomb that we should not forget our original intention, it was nothing. But at this moment, Gu Mingqiao was really shocked by Chu Xinghe. This little guy, he didn't talk about his original intention, but I really never dare to forget. Xinghe, okay. The elder came to Chu Xinghe in one step and hugged Chu Xinghe. Those words just now really moved the great elder from the bottom of his heart. It is not that Linghe Palace has never had disciples who shouted that the great elder is like their parents to me, but when faced with the opportunity to become the disciples of the sect leader, they would probably have thrown these words out of their minds a long time ago. Good boy. Gu Mingqiao finally showed a smile on his face. This smile came from the heart. When he asked about Chu Xinghe's situation before, he found that most of the elders were actually praising Chu Xinghe. This made Gu Mingqiao wonder if it was arranged by the great elder. Otherwise, how could there be such an outstanding child in the world? But at this moment, Gu Mingqiao no longer had any doubts. This child was not only extremely talented, but also had an unprecedented temperament. Perhaps it was precisely because of this child's pure and perfect temperament that he was recognized by the Haotian sword box. Good boy, I allow you to stay in Linghe Palace, but your talent must not be wasted. I will personally teach you Haotian's fighting spirit. Gu Mingqiao spoke again, and this time, the scene exploded. Haotian's fighting spirit. The sect wants to teach Chu Xinghe Haotian's fighting spirit. You must know that only the direct disciples of the sect master are eligible to learn Haotian's fighting will, and those who learn Haotian's fighting will are basically selected as the future successors of the sect leader. There are very few people in the entire Haotian sect who are qualified to learn Haotian's fighting spirit. No one expected that Gu Mingqiao, who was rejected by Chu Xinghe, would still be willing to teach him Haotian's fighting spirit. Why don't you thank the sect master for teaching me? The great elder was also so excited that his eyes were red. Now he really treats Chu Xinghe as his own son. Ah, thank you, sect leader. Chu Xinghe was confused. Damn, what's going on? Why do you want to teach me Haotian's fighting spirit? Just now, when Gu Mingqiao asked to accept him as his personal disciple, Chu Xinghe was actually very excited and almost surrendered, but Chu Xinghe reacted immediately. It was difficult to be stripped of my status as a core disciple in Linghe Palace. If I became the master's personal disciple, there would be no chance of being stripped of my status. How could I be expelled from the sect? Practice step by step to become a martial emperor. Stop it, okay? Look at the old men around, there are a few martial emperors, but they have practiced for a lifetime. My dream is to be expelled from the sect. Originally, Chu Xinghe even thought about rejecting the master on the spot. With such a slap in the face, even if the master didn't expel him from the sect in anger, he would be so angry that he would throw his sleeves on the spot, and then make things difficult for him in various ways and finally use the master's status to expel him from the sect. Isn't this a normal routine? But what do you mean by teaching me the Haotian fighting spirit just because you don't agree with me? But now Chu Xinghe can't refuse, because he really can't find a suitable reason. Good boy, stay in Linghe Palace. From today on, you are my direct disciple, that the elder who was moved just now spoke, and Chu Xinghe almost cried, so, he couldn't escape the identity of a direct disciple after all. The only thing that could comfort Chu Xinghe was that the probability of being expelled from the sect by becoming a direct disciple of the elder was higher than that of becoming a direct disciple of the sect master. Gu Mingqiao nodded with a smile, and a group of elders came up to congratulate the elder. Seeing the extremely envious looks on their faces, the elder's face was once again full of smiles. Gu Mingqiao handed Chu Xinghe a Haotian order and left. With the Haotian order, he could go to Haotian Palace to follow Gu Mingqiao to learn Haotian sect's strongest technique, Haotian fighting will. Countless disciples around him looked at the glittering Haotian order in Chu Xinghe's hand with envy. After all, after coming out of the spiritual tomb, everyone's cultivation has either entered the second level or will soon enter the second level, so it's time to go to the power storage tower to choose a skill, although there are countless skills in the Haotian sect. The top skills are not what ordinary disciples are qualified to learn. They must show their talents that are enough to impress the elders step by step before they can be granted the qualification to learn stronger skills, but Chu Xinghe got it right in one step and was able to learn the Haotian sect's strongest skill, Haotian battle will. So although Chu Xinghe rejected the sect master was not angry at all, and even still treated him as a direct disciple. Otherwise he would never teach him Haotian battle will. The spiritual tomb conference is over. And most of the disciples have received spiritual weapons. As for whether they like them or not, that's another matter. However, the worst ones are not these ordinary disciples, but those who got the gossip. They came out with the high-level spiritual weapons they got, and before they had time to show off to their elders, they were scolded. What is there to be proud of? Your broken copper and rotten iron are worth nothing. Look at your senior brother Xinghe. Not only did he get the Haotian sword box, but he also got the Haotian fighting spirit taught by the sect master himself. Comparing people to people will make you die, and comparing goods to goods will make you throw them away. Compared with Chu Xinghe, these disciples of his family can't be considered human beings, they are at most goods. After these proud sons of heaven returned to their respective palaces, none of them escaped, and all received various punishments. Chu Xinghe vomited blood when he heard the news. He dreamed of being punished, but he didn't have the chance to die. These guys could be punished without doing anything. Why can't he get such a good thing in the world? Chu Xinghe got the Haotian sword box to recognize him as his master, and he refused to become the sect master's personal disciple on the spot. The sect master was not angry, but instead taught Chu Xinghe the Haotian fighting spirit. The news spread throughout the Haotian sect in a short time. Now, from the elders to the outer disciples, no one didn't know Chu Xinghe's name. When Fathead Fish told Chu Cheng about this news, the guy vomited 2 tails of blood on the spot. That day in Linghe Palace, Feng Fei personally brought Chu Xinghe the clothes representing the disciple of the great elder. They were still black, but on the basis of the original gold thread edging, the disciples' clothes had more gold thread and cloud patterns. From today on, I have to call you Brother Xinghe. Feng Fei joked with a smile. Brother Feng, it's okay for other brothers to make fun of me, but why do you do this too? Chu Xinghe looked like he was about to get angry. Ha ha ha. Okay. Brother Xinghe, that's enough. After Feng Fei finished joking, he continued to work. Chu Xinghe did not disturb Feng Fei, but walked out of the room and headed towards the direction of Haotian Palace. These days, everyone has started to go to the Cangong Tower to learn the skills, but he can't go. After all, he can only learn Haotian's fighting spirit from the sect master, Chu Xinghe, holding the Haotian order. naturally had a smooth journey and soon found the leader Gu Mingqiao in the Haotian hall. Seeing Chu Xinghe coming, Gu Mingqiao waved to Chu Xinghe with a smile. Xinghe, today I will teach you the Haotian fighting spirit, but before I teach you, I have a few things to tell you, so that you won't make mistakes in the future, make mistakes. Hearing these two words, Chu Xinghe was alert on the spot, so the opportunity came again. Chapter 15 Purchase Order. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Others went to the Hidden Power Tower to learn the skills, but Chu Xinghe didn't have this opportunity, which made Chu Xinghe so angry that he wanted to curse. That's the Hidden Power Tower. One of the most important places in the Haotian sect. If I set a fire there, my goodness, I would fly directly. It's a pity that I can't go to the Hidden Power Tower. I can only come to the Haotian Palace to follow the sect master to learn the Haotian fighting will. Although the Haotian fighting will is very attractive, it is far less exciting than burning the Hidden Power Tower. Xinghe, listen carefully, the inheritance of the Haotian fighting will is the strongest inheritance of my Haotian sect, but this skill must not be passed on without my permission, otherwise. Chu Xinghe was excited. The opportunity is here, what else? Abolish your cultivation and expel you from the sect. Otherwise, you should be tortured to death. Chu Xinghe. Damn, this directly blocked all my escape routes. Disciple, remember this. Well, I will teach you Haotian fighting will in person next. Gu Mingqiao nodded with satisfaction and then did not say much, and began to teach Chu Xinghe Haotian fighting will little by little. It must be said that Haotian fighting will is really the top-level technique, which contains various bodybuilding techniques, spiritual cultivation techniques and various combat methods, and each of them is absolutely the top-level existence. It is definitely not comparable to the ordinary techniques in the Tibetan Power Tower, because general techniques are relatively simple. The cultivation techniques are the cultivation techniques, and the combat martial arts exist independently. Therefore, when choosing a technique in the Tibetan Power Tower, you must not only choose the cultivation technique, but also the martial arts that suit you. Once you choose the wrong path, then congratulations, not to say that you have to start all over again, at least you will get twice the result with half the effort, but Haotian fighting will has no such concerns at all. Haotian fighting will not only has the cultivation method, but also the combination of various martial arts. This is the experience summed up by countless ancestors who have been passed down from generation to generation in the Haotian sect. Whatever martial arts is matched with whatever route is the best choice. It can be said that Haotian battle intent is a perfect one-click match. What makes Chu Xinghe even more unbelievable is that you said that Haotian battle intent is such a powerful technique, it should be the most complicated to practice, but it is just the opposite. This technique is much simpler than ordinary techniques. In Gu Mingqiao's words, the great wisdom of the ancestors has made it simple. For a whole day, Gu Mingqiao taught Chu Xinghe Haotian battle intent. Although his head was buzzing, Chu Xinghe still remembered everything perfectly. This may be related to the inheritance of the medicine saint. Since obtaining the inheritance of the medicine saint, Chu Xinghe found that he had the ability to remember everything he saw, so he learned various things much faster. Next, you have to practice hard. If you encounter something you don't understand, you can come to Haotian Palace to ask me at any time. Gu Mingqiao was very satisfied with Chu Xinghe. Originally, he thought it would take Chu Xinghe at least 3 days to learn the Haotian fighting spirit, but he never expected that this kid was so talented that he learned it in 1 day, much better than he was back then. Facing such an excellent Chu Xinghe, although he was not able to become his own disciple, Gu Mingqiao had made up his mind to train Chu Xinghe well. After all, being a disciple was just a title. After bidding farewell to Gu Mingqiao, Chu Xinghe returned to Lingyi Palace. The main body of the Medicine King Palace had been completely built, and various decorations were also in progress. Now was the time for various large purchases, such as the furnace, medicinal materials, and the daily purchase of various consumables was absolutely astronomical. Chu Xinghe could see chambers of commerce from all sides coming in and out of the Medicine King Palace every day. It was definitely a great thing to get an order from the Haotian sect. The Haotian sect was rich and powerful. As long as your things were good enough, the Haotian sect would dare to give you a high enough price. Back in the room, Feng Fei, who looked tired, was lying on the table calculating the accounts, and he didn't even notice Chu Xinghe coming back, walking to Feng Fei. Feng Fei saw that it was Chu Xinghe. "Junior Brother Xinghe, how was your study for a day?" "I finished. The sect master said that I have a good talent. He took 3 days to finish the study, but I learned it in 1 day." Hearing Chu Xinghe's words, Feng Fei couldn't help but sigh. Junior Brother Xinghe was really amazing. What kind of person is the sect master? Being praised by the sect master shows how outstanding Chu Xinghe is. What is Senior Brother Feng doing? Alas, various purchase lists. Feng Fei didn't hide it and put it directly in front of Chu Xinghe for Chu Xinghe to see. At first glance, wow, no wonder Feng Fei had a headache, there were too many things to purchase. "Junior Brother Xinghe, you don't know that the share that the Medicine King Palace is going to purchase this time is too large. As long as there is a slight mistake, it will bring unimaginable losses to the sect. I dare not slack off at all." "What the hell?" Hearing Feng Fei's words, Chu Xinghe was no longer sleepy on the spot. "If there is any mistake, it will bring unimaginable losses to the sect. And there is such a good thing. Senior Brother Feng, why didn't you tell me earlier? No matter how hard or tiring it is, I am not afraid of it and will face the challenge head-on. I can't bear to see Senior Brother Feng working so hard. If you trust me, let me help you." Chu Xinghe's eyes were full of stars. He had just broken through in the past few days, and was busy consolidating his realm and learning Haotian's fighting spirit. Chu Xinghe couldn't find any chance to do anything wrong. Now that this good thing is in front of him, he will never let it go. "Junior Brother Xinghe, what are you talking about? How can Senior Brother not trust you? However, these are trivial matters. If you are allowed to participate, it will inevitably affect your practice." Senior Brother said this, "I am angry. As a disciple of Haotian's sect, isn't it what I should do to do my best for the sect? If everyone ignores all the trivial matters of the sect because of cultivation, then why is it a sect?" Chu Xinghe looked upright. Feng Fei nodded secretly. "Listen. He is indeed Junior Brother Xinghe. He wanted to ask others for help before, but all of them were blocked. But Junior Brother Xinghe is so aware, those guys are ashamed." After hearing this, Feng Fei didn't say much and sent a purchase list to Chu Xinghe. This is a purchase list of medicinal materials. It marks the various medicinal materials that need to be purchased and their proportions. The types and quantities are so large that they can make people faint at a glance. "Junior Brother Xinghe, the medicinal materials we need to purchase are all here. You can sort them out. The president of the Daxing Chamber of Commerce will come to your door tomorrow. Then you can just ask him to prepare the goods according to the things above. In terms of price, you can start from just use this reference book as a reference." "Good." Chu Xinghe picked up the purchase order and price list and ran aside to start studying them. There are thousands of types of purchases, which are basically medicinal materials that are consumed daily, and the price of each medicinal material is also marked on the price list. When Haotian sect buys something, they never ask you how much it will cost, but how much I want to buy it for. Even the Daxing Chamber of Commerce, which is known as the best chamber of commerce in the world, is not qualified to compete with Haotian's sect in terms of price. This is the absolute confidence of the number one sect in the world. Of course, the prices given by Haotian's sect will never be a scam. They are all in line with the market price, allowing you to make a profit, but it is absolutely impossible to blackmail me." Looking at the price list, Chu Xinghe became worried. The price had already been marked. Why would he still negotiate for a bargain? Isn't this just like running an errand? What if a good deal accidentally caused heavy losses to the sect? What's the loss? This won't work. If there are difficulties, we must overcome them. If there are no difficulties, we must overcome difficulties even if we create them ourselves. The price can't be changed, right? Then we can always make some changes in terms of medicinal materials. Soon Chu Xinghe found what he wanted, purchased 3 million spiritual herbs. Zhongling grass is the same medicinal material used to refine Zhongling elixir. It is a very common medicinal material, and the price is also the cheapest. However, if you accidentally add a stroke to Zhongling grass, it will become Shen Lingcao. Na is completely different. What is Shen Lingcao? Chu Xinghe searched his mind and found this thing. There was only one kind of elixir that could be refined from this thing, which was called stone-breaking pill. Do you hear this name, Pashirdan? At first glance, it sounds like it can only do some bad things, and in fact, this stone-breaking pill can only do some bad things. This thing only has the effect of dispelling and immunizing some petrochemical toxins, but really all petrochemical poisons can be eliminated. It is the rarest poison among poisons. If you ask Shenong to taste another round of Bai Chao, he probably won't be poisoned by petrochemicals. Don't think that stone pill is useless, but Shen Lingcao is very extraordinary. How should I put it? In Chu Xinghe's words, this thing meets the three elements of cheating: rare, expensive, and useless. But this herb is simply the herb of my dreams. How much does it cost to buy 3 million Zhongling grass? But if you buy 3 million Shenling grass, the price will simply take off. It is our duty to cause losses to the sect. Chu Xinghe laughed so hard that he burst out laughing, as if he thought of the great elder's expression when he saw 3 million Shenling grasses placed in front of him. Perfect. After packing all kinds of things properly, Chu Xinghe had a good sleep. Early the next morning, after washing up and having breakfast, Chu Xinghe saw the Daxing Chamber of Commerce badge that had been waiting for him at Yawang Palace, a fat man who looked like he weighed about 300 pounds, with a pig-head-like head and a smile on his face. I am Wei Deqian of the Daxing Chamber of Commerce. I have met young hero of the galaxy. Although Wei Deqian is the president of the Daxing Chamber of Commerce, the Daxing Chamber of Commerce is great outside, but he is nothing in front of a behemoth like Haotian sect, so this man seems very humble. He took Wei Deqian into a lounge in Yawang Palace and threw the purchase order to Wei Deqian without saying much. After receiving the purchase list, Wei Deqian's eyes suddenly lit up. He knew that Haotian sect needed a lot of medicinal materials, but he was still shocked after actually seeing it. Chu Xinghe casually threw the price list to Wei Deqian. This guy obviously knew the Haotian sect's routine. He picked up the price list without saying a word to Chu Xinghe. He nodded and said it was okay, and at the same time began to write on the purchase order. Price, but Wei Deqian's expression soon changed. Young hero Xinghe, please take a look. Is this Shen Lingcao, a mistake? Wei Deqian pointed to the purchase list marked with 3 million Shen Lingcao and looked confused. Is the Haotian sect crazy? What does it mean to buy 3 million Shenling grass? Even the Daxing Chamber of Commerce would have spent huge amounts of manpower and material resources to mobilize such a large quantity from all over the world. It is no exaggeration to say that the Haotian sect was able to wrap up all the Shenling grass produced in the world at once. Haotian sect is very wealthy, but no matter how wealthy you are, what's the use of having so much Shenling grass? So Wei Deqian's first reaction was that he wrote it wrong. If someone else had made a mistake, he would have dared to fool around, but for Haotian sect, sorry, Wei Deqian didn't have the guts, so he carefully gave the list to Chu Xinghe for confirmation, but just when Wei Deqian thought Chu Xinghe would definitely think it was wrong, he saw Chu Xinghe nodded slightly and said, the list is correct, just prepare according to this. Wei Deqian. Chapter 16 Chu Xinghe's popularity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is Wei Deqian really stupid? 3 million Shenling grass. What is the Haotian sect going to do? But he didn't dare to ask. Taking a look at Chu Xinghe's robes that only direct disciples were qualified to wear, Wei Deqian swallowed back all his words. If the person he was talking to today was an ordinary disciple, even an elite disciple, he would have asked the other person to confirm again. However, Chu Xinghe was so young and had already become the direct disciple of the great elder of Lingyi Palace. It was absolutely unusual. How could such a person be possible? Something went wrong. It should be that Haotian sect has some secrets, but this is not something he is qualified to ask. After confirming that there were no problems with the other lists, Wei Deqian took out the purchase contract. Chu Xinghe didn't even look at it, he just waved his pen and signed his name on the contract. Young hero Xinghe, this contract must not only have your signature, but also the elder's order from the great elder to be valid. Elder's order, Chu Xinghe was shocked. The elder's order was in the hands of the elder. If he showed the contract to the elder, if the elder found out, wouldn't his plan be finished? Suddenly, Chu Xinghe thought of something. The great elder has been very busy these 2 days, and I don't know where he has been. It's hard to find the elder's order. Can I get the Haotian order? This is great. Wei Deqian looked at the Haotian in Chu Xinghe's hand and was dumbfounded. What is the origin of Chu Xinghe? In the Haotian sect, only the sect master can issue the Haotian order himself. To a certain extent, being able to obtain the Haotian order represents the sect leader's wishes. Chu Xinghe is so young and is not only a direct disciple of the great elder of Linghe Palace. Even the Haotian order, what is the origin of this guy? Although Wei Deqian had 100,000 reasons in his mind, he didn't dare to ask a word. The Haotian order left its mark on the contract, and the contract officially came into effect. Wei Deqian pulled out his 300-pound body from the chair with difficulty and said goodbye with a smile to Chu Xinghe. After sending Wei Deqian away, Chu Xinghe breathed a sigh of relief. 3 million Shenling grass. The great elder will definitely be very surprised. Humming that today was a good day, Chu Xinghe walked around the newly built Yawang Palace and almost got lost. Finally, he asked a few seniors before walking out of the Yawang Palace. In the following days, the purchases from all parties were gradually shipped to Haotian sect. What does it mean to spend money like water? Chu Xinghe really saw that every order was enough to make a big family bankrupt on the spot, but Haotian sect paid for so many orders without blinking an eye. This made Chu Xinghe sigh. The number 1 sect in the world is indeed the number 1 sect in the world. This background is too domineering. It is simply too difficult to destroy the Haotian sect, but what did you say? The road is long, and I will search high and low. No matter how difficult it is to overthrow the Haotian sect, as long as you don't change your original intention, you will one day be able to destroy the sect and achieve enlightenment. A large amount of purchased items were transported to Yawang Palace, and various orders in Yawang Palace gradually began to be restored, and Chu Xinghe's hard days also began. The great elder found Chu Xinghe as soon as he could resume alchemy refining in Yawang Palace. He said meaningfully to Chu Xinghe, Xinghe, although you have inherited the medicine sage, the road to refining medicine is long, and you will also search high and low. As long as you don't change your original intention, you will one day be able to use medicine to realize the Tao. Damn, why do these words sound so familiar? Then the great elder personally taught Chu Xinghe various methods of refining medicine. Although there was no need to distinguish the difference between moon ming grass, moon soul grass and evening primrose, refining medicine itself was a hard job. Chu Xinghe swore that he hated refining medicine the most in his life. Suzaku definitely heard his voice of hating medicine refining. It passed the inheritance to him just to retaliate against him. This was a rhythm that would drive him crazy, but on the surface, Chu Xinghe still looks like a good baby, and we will do whatever the great elder arranges, because Chu Xinghe knows that the gift he prepared for the great elder is coming soon. On this day, Chu Xinghe was refining the 4th grade elixir fire spirit pill under the guidance of the great elder. The inheritance of the medicine saint is truly heaven-defying. Even if Chu Xinghe doesn't like it, in just a few days, Chu Xinghe has successfully reached the level of a 4th grade alchemist from a former furnace bomber. Now I can even compete with Senior Brother Xinghe in refining medicine. However, the great elder was obviously not satisfied with Chu Xinghe's advancement. It was the inheritance of the medicine saint. It stands to reason that Chu Xinghe only needs to master 1/10 of it to become a 9th grade alchemy master. Surpassing him is just around the corner. Now the great elder views Chu Xinghe as his own son. What father doesn't hope that his son will become a dragon? The great elder's biggest hope now is that Chu Xinghe can surpass him immediately. When the time comes, he will definitely hand over the entire Linghe Palace to Chu Galaxy. Under the blessing of the vermilion bird spirit fire, the pill and the pill furnace gradually took shape, and a fiery red fire spirit pill appeared in front of everyone. A group of senior brothers who were refining medicine were amazed when they saw the fire spirit pill. After all, it was the first time for Chu Xinghe to refine the 4th grade fire spirit pill, and it was successful in one go. The medicine saint inheritance was too overbearing. But the great elder also looked dissatisfied. Galaxy, what the medicine saint inheritance wants to refine is not an ordinary elixir. You are still far behind. All the elixirs you refine in the future will be considered a failure if they are at the ordinary level. Only when they reach the highest level will they be considered successful. Chu Xinghe almost vomited blood, but he could only nod and accept. The eyes of a group of senior brothers also changed when they looked at Chu Xinghe, as expected of our junior brother Xinghe. Thank God if the success rate of other people's alchemy can reach 70%. Junior brother Xinghe's success rate is still 100% since he made alchemy, but now the 100% success rate is no longer good. The great elder's requirement is not to produce the best. Even if you fail, I will ask you whether you are ruthless or not. Okay, let's take a rest first, and we'll refine other elixirs later. Okay. Chu Xinghe was helpless. Refining medicine was too boring. The only consolation was that he could absorb spiritual power to strengthen himself during the process of refining medicine. Therefore, although everyone in Lingyi Palace makes elixirs and even enters Taoism through refining medicine, their cultivation level is no worse than that of other palaces. Chu Xinghe couldn't rest, and the elder began to deal with other things. But at this moment, Feng Fei ran in from outside, rushed to the elder's side, took a look around, and then lay down in the elder's ear and spoke quietly in his ear. What? The great elder suddenly widened his eyes with a look of disbelief. Seeing this expression, Chu Xinghe knew that he had succeeded. Everything went as Chu Xinghe had guessed. The Daxing Chamber of Commerce came, and delivered various goods on the list. This was originally a normal thing, but when 3 million Shenling grasses were placed in front of Feng Fei, I was stunned on the spot. When did the Haotian sect buy 3 million Shen Lingcao? Our Haotian sect is rich, but we are not stupid, okay? Are we really sick? Buy so much Shen Lingcao and keep it for meadows? Feng Fei quarreled with the fat man Wei Deqian on the spot, but when Wei Deqian took out the list and contract, Feng Fei was stunned. The contract clearly states that there is nothing wrong with the 3 million Shen Lingcao, and the most important thing is that the signature on it turned out to be Junior Brother Xinghe. And Junior Brother Xinghe didn't even use the Elder Order, but directly used the Haotian Order. Feng Fei knew something had happened and hurried over to inform the great elder of the situation. The elder followed Feng Fei all the way outside and snatched the contract from Wei Deqian's hand. After just one glance, he almost vomited blood in anger. Chu Xinghe's name is clearly written on it, and Haotian Ling's mark is absolutely correct, but the problem is these 3 million Shenling grass. Chu Xinghe also followed out, and when he saw the stunned look on the great elder's face, he was so excited. Didn't the great elder directly deprive himself of his status as a direct disciple in anger as a punishment? After all, he has brought huge trouble and losses to the sect. This would be unjustifiable without severe punishment. More and more disciples from Lingyi Palace came around. When they heard that there was a procurement error and they actually purchased 3 million Shenling grass, they all gasped in fright. Great elder, this disciple is guilty. Feng Fei suddenly knelt in front of the great elder. The great elder entrusted me with the purchasing, but I handed it over to junior brother Xinghe who has never engaged in purchasing. Now that the purchase is wrong, the great elder should punish me. Feng Fei lowered his head and knelt on the ground, his face full of bitterness. Chu Xinghe saw that it was okay. If you want to take credit from me, I won't say a word. If you want to take away my punishment, that won't work. Great elder, this matter has nothing to do with senior brother Feng. I have to be involved in this matter. The mistake in this purchase is all my fault. Senior brother Feng has worked hard for the construction of Yawang Palace and has not had a good rest for several days and nights. Moreover, I violated the sect's rules and did not ask the great elder to review this purchase, which led to such consequences. Please give the disciple a severe punishment. Wei Deqian was dumbfounded, his mind was buzzing at the moment, and now he could see that there was a problem with the procurement, but he was not worried about the Haotian sect defaulting on the bill. After all, what a status the Haotian sect had, and the Haotian sect had to be shameless about breaching the contract. But what really confused Wei Deqian was that he had seen someone who was trying to steal credit before, and this was the first time he had seen someone who was trying to steal penalties, and a harsher punishment. What? Are you addicted to punishment? The great elder's face was full of helplessness. He looked at Chu Xinghe and Feng Fei who were kneeling on the ground. They were both his most valued disciples, but such a mistake was indeed inappropriate. Feng Fei's side was okay. After all, he was also a human being and could do it. If you are tired, it makes sense to ask for help, but on Chu Xinghe's side, it's okay to say that he got the purchase order wrong. The most important thing is that he used the Haotian order without permission from his elders. This is a serious crime. Great Elder, Junior Brother Xinghe has only been here for a short time and does not understand the rules of the sect. This time he made an unintentional mistake. Please forgive Junior Brother Xinghe, Great Elder. Shen Chun knelt down on the ground to plead for Chu Xinghe. Great Elder, Junior Brother Xinghe is certainly at fault, but considering his young age, I ask the Great Elder to forgive me. Junior Brother Xinghe is an honest man. He has been very careful and never dared to make mistakes since he started. This time it must have been unintentional. Great Elder, forgive me. Great Elder. Great Elder. Hurrah! All the disciples around him knelt on the ground. Even the disciples who came from behind knew what happened and knelt down to plead for Chu Xinghe. Wei Deqian was stunned by this scene. To be honest, this was the first time Wei Deqian saw such a young direct disciple of Haotian sect, and he even suspected that this guy might not be the illegitimate son of the Great Elder, but at this moment Wei Deqian knew that he was too narrow-minded. It is not difficult for a person to make a mistake and someone will plead for him. What is difficult is for a person to make a mistake and everyone in the Linghe Palace kneels down to plead for him. How popular this person is in the Linghe Palace. Chapter 17 The First Punishment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The news of the purchase error spread like wildfire throughout the Linghe Palace. All the ordinary disciples, elite disciples, and even the core disciples of the Linghe Palace rushed to the palace after hearing the news. Every person who came knelt on the ground to plead for Chu Xinghe without saying a word. This scene made Wei Deqian's scalp numb. It was hard for him to imagine how a person could make the entire Linghe Palace come out to plead for him. Not only Wei Deqian, but also the Great Elder was shocked. But he was more happy than shocked. The Great Elder knew that Chu Xinghe was very popular in the Linghe Palace. The senior brothers had put a lot of thought into his trip to the Ling tomb, but the Great Elder realized after seeing this scene today that he had underestimated Chu Xinghe. After all, it is said that it is easy to share wealth, but difficult to share adversity. If Chu Xinghe was rewarded today, and everyone came to congratulate him, then the Great Elder would not think there was any problem at all. But Chu Xinghe made a big mistake today. He was so angry that these kids should know his temper. There were people who helped to plead for mercy in the past. He would punish those who pleaded for mercy. All of you stand up. Anyone who dares to plead for mercy will be punished together. The elders shouted sternly, but at this moment, no one stood up, and everyone knelt there motionless. This scene really shocked the elder, but he was more relieved in his heart. He shouted that sentence just now to see whether these people would turn around and leave because of fear of punishment, or really defend their junior brother Xinghe at all costs. Now the elder has the answer, this kid Chu Xinghe. Since the establishment of Haotian sect and the establishment of Linghe Palace, there has never been a person who has such charm that the entire Linghe Palace is willing to be punished for him in a short time. But after thinking about it carefully, the elder understood that Chu Xinghe did not do anything. He just did his best, was extremely humble to every senior brother, and rushed to do all the hard work, from an elite disciple to a core disciple, and then to his own disciple, and even almost becoming the master's disciple. If it were someone else, wouldn't he be proud of the ninth heaven? But Chu Xinghe didn't. He was still the peerless good junior brother in the eyes of others. He never changed his attitude towards his senior brother because of his identity. Even if it was the most ordinary disciple of Linghe Palace, Chu Xinghe would respectfully salute and say good morning, senior brother when he saw him. No matter who it was, when they found Chu Xinghe for help, he always responded to their requests. He would do what others were unwilling to do, and he was not afraid of being tired when others felt tired. Such Chu Xinghe had already affected the entire Linghe Palace invisibly. and no matter who made a mistake in Linghe Palace, others did not dare to ask for mercy, but Chu Xinghe did, even when he was most angry. He once said that if he dared to ask for mercy again, he would let him get out of Haotian's sect. But the elders still remembered Chu Xinghe's firm eyes and words at that time. Grand Elder, if expelling me from the sect can make you calm down, then please expel me from the sect. Although my senior brother made a mistake, it was an unintentional mistake and he should not be punished like this. If you want to punish me, please punish me. Please let my senior brother go, that this is what Chu Xinghe said. Since Chu Xinghe entered Linghe Palace, whenever his senior brother made a mistake, Chu Xinghe would plead for mercy and be punished on his behalf. Once, twice, every time, the Grand Elder couldn't remember how many times it had happened, but he knew that in Linghe Palace, everyone talked about Junior Brother Xinghe every day, and he had never heard anyone say bad things about Chu Xinghe even in private. The elders of Linghe Palace also came from all directions, and they were all shocked when they saw the scene, but soon the elders also spoke up. Great Elder, no one is perfect. You know Xinghe's character best. This is indeed his first time handling this matter, and it is inevitable that he will make mistakes. Not to mention Xinghe, even you and I made mistakes when we were young. Yes, Great Elder, using the Haotian order is indeed a transgression, but since the sect master gave the Haotian order to Xinghe, he didn't say that it can't be used. Yes, yes, yes. The sect master didn't say it can't be used. Having said that, Xinghe's use of the Haotian order is not a crime. You have been busy these days, and I think it must be because you couldn't find the Great Elder at that time, and this child didn't understand the rules, so this happened. Wei Deqian, did Xinghe say at that time that the Great Elder was too busy to find him? An elder glared at Wei Deqian. Ah, yes, yes. I remember that at that time, young Master Xinghe had been looking for the Great Elder in vain. He was afraid that it would delay the purchase time, so he had to use the Haotian order. It was also my fault that I didn't explain it clearly to young Master Xinghe at that time, so it was indeed not young Master Xinghe's intention, that Wei Deqian was talking nonsense. But now, if Wei Deqian had any brain cells alive, he would know what he could say and what he couldn't say. If I told them everything about the situation at that time, these people from the Linghe Palace would definitely tear my tendons and skin me alive. Even though I weigh more than 300 pounds, it's not enough for each of them to eat. A person who can make the entire Linghe Palace plead for him, just ask this kind of person, do you dare to say bad things about him? The Great Elder looked at Wei Deqian, and it was obvious that he was also very satisfied with Wei Deqian's answer. The whole audience was very satisfied, except Chu Xinghe. You fat man, what the hell are you talking nonsense about? Did I do this at that time? Chu Xinghe wanted to jump up and give this fat guy a big slap, but he couldn't do it. The scene of so many brothers and elders pleading for him today was a huge shock to Chu Xinghe. People have their own ways and don't do their own things. So many brothers and elders pleaded for him. Now he couldn't say a word. Chu Xinghe. Disciple is. Unauthorized use of the Haotian order is a serious crime in Haotian sect, but considering that you have only been a disciple for a short time and don't know the sect rules well enough, it is understandable, but you must be punished for making mistakes. Are you convinced? Rewards will be given for merits and punishments will be given for mistakes. Disciple is willing to accept any punishment. Please punish me, Elder. Chu Xinghe was excited. I'm finally going to be punished. Okay, Feng Fei is also responsible for the purchase error this time. Fine Feng Fei for half a year's resources. Disciple thanks the elder for your mercy. Feng Fei thanked him. After all, this punishment, in Linghe Palace, which is in charge of elixirs, is just talk. Chu Xinghe, you used the Haotian order without authorization, but considering the circumstances, you are punished to be confined in the Medicine King Palace for 3 months. During this period, you are only allowed to refine pills and cannot step out of the Medicine King Palace. The Haotian order is taken back by the sect. I will report this to the sect master. Thank you, Great Elder, for your mercy. Countless brothers, including the elders, thanked the Great Elder, and everyone finally smiled, confined in the Medicine King Palace for 3 months. This punishment is nothing. Brother Xinghe has been practicing in the Medicine King Palace for 3 months. Besides, he can't go out. Can't the brothers find him what he needs? Everyone laughed. But Chu Xinghe cried, "That's it. Great Elder. Can you deprive me of my status as a direct disciple? Losing the status of a direct disciple means you can be promoted to the 5th rank directly. What's the point of just confinement?" But at this point, Chu Xinghe has no choice. 3 months of confinement is 3 months of confinement. It's better than nothing. As the elder's words fell, Chu Xinghe felt his head shake, and the next second, the compass of doom hidden in his mind started to turn for the first time. The pointer quickly stopped at the punishment of 3 months of confinement, indicating that his mission was completed, and a reward also appeared in front of Chu Xinghe. After being punished with 3 months of confinement, the reward was the peak cultivation of the 2nd-grade martial artist. Chu Xinghe felt an invisible force released from the compass, and his spiritual power suddenly surged in an instant. Chu Xinghe, who had just broken through to the beginning of the 2nd grade, directly reached the peak of the 2nd-grade martial artist. Cool. Although the mosquito legs are a little small, they are still meat after all. I finally see hope. The elder left Linghe Palace with the Haotian order. This matter involved too much and must be reported to the sect master. Many senior brothers came to comfort Chu Xinghe. "Junior Brother Xinghe, it's Senior Brother Feng's fault. I shouldn't have your kindness." Feng Fei was full of self-blame. "Brother Feng was wrong. I am the one who should be sorry to you. My negligence led to this result. You are punished with me. I feel. Alas. Brother Xinghe, Brother Feng's punishment is not a punishment. There are no other places with elixir resources. How can it be a problem in Linghe Palace? So you don't need to blame yourself." "That's right. If it weren't for you, Brother Xinghe, I would have been kicked out of Linghe Palace last time. And I. Brother Xinghe, you are so righteous to me on weekdays. We will never watch you being punished." Yes. "Brother Xinghe, don't worry. 3 months will pass quickly. Just practice in Yaowang Palace with peace of mind. If you need anything, just say it and we will get it for you." "Thank you, brothers." Chu Xinghe was really moved at this moment. Many elders also came up to comfort Chu Xinghe, saying that he should not complain about the punishment of the elder. The elder has such a personality, and he loves you deeply and blames you harshly. He blames you harshly. Chu Xinghe wants to spit. Is this considered a punishment? "The punishment I want is not like this at all." The elder personally went to Haotian Palace to return the Haotian order. The sect master was also shocked when he heard about the situation at that time. It is not difficult for a disciple to have a group of people plead for mercy, but it is incredible for a disciple to let the Linghe Palace plead for mercy. Regarding the elder's punishment, the sect master just said that he knew it, and told the elder to keep an eye on Chu Xinghe, the stinky boy, and not only to learn to refine medicine, but also to practice Haotian's fighting spirit. Hearing the sect master's words, the elder was completely relieved, and he knew that the sect master had passed this level. After all, the great elder himself knew that his punishment was nothing, and whether the sect master would be dissatisfied or not, but the fact that the sect master said so meant that he was very satisfied with his actions. The news quickly spread throughout the Haotian sect. Chu Xinghe was the only one who made the mistake, and the fact that all the disciples of the Linghe Palace knelt down to beg for mercy made many people look unbelievable. "I tell you, I was not at the scene. If I were there, I would definitely plead for Senior Brother Xinghe." Wan Lin is now an elite disciple of Chulin Palace. After hearing this news, she didn't care what other senior sisters and junior sisters of Chulin Palace thought. She supported Chu Xinghe anyway. "Senior Brother Xinghe is the most righteous person I have ever seen. He is very kind to his fellow disciples. I am not good at talking, but if Senior Brother Xinghe is in trouble, Wan Lin will definitely risk my life to help." Wan Lin has become Chu Xinghe's little fan girl invisibly. Chapter 18. What does it mean that you all want Shen Lingcao? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wan Lin became Chu Xinghe's little fangirl, and in Haotian sect, there are more than one such little fanboy and fangirl. Those who followed Chu Xinghe to get the spiritual weapon before definitely gave a thumbs up to Chu Xinghe's character. Senior Brother Xinghe is the best person I have ever seen. I only admire Senior Brother Xinghe in my life. At the beginning in the spiritual tomb, I even suspected whether Senior Brother Xinghe was cheating us. I still can't sleep at night when I think about this matter. How narrow-minded I am. I actually miss Senior Brother Xinghe so much. 3 months of confinement, this punishment for Senior Brother Xinghe is too heavy, isn't it? 3 days of confinement is not enough. When hearing the statement that 3 months of confinement is too heavy, countless people were speechless. Big brother, do you know what Chu Xinghe did wrong? He first bought 3 million Shen Lingcao grass. Although our Haotian sect is a big family, it is not so bad that it will hurt our bones, but 3 million plants, that price can bankrupt a small country, then that's fine, but he used the Haotian order without authorization. What is the Haotian order? Only the sect master can use it. The great elder is not qualified to use it unless the sect master is not here. This is a huge violation. It's no exaggeration to say that if it were anyone else, they would have been tortured to death on the spot. Even if they were core disciples, it's possible that they would be expelled from the sect. But what about Chu Xinghe? 3 months of confinement, and in Medicine King Palace. Is this also considered confinement? Why don't you say that confinement in the Haotian sect counts? He was originally a disciple of the Lingcao Palace. He slept in 100 rooms in the newly built Medicine King Palace every day, and he couldn't sleep even 1/10 of them in 3 months. Is such a big place also called confinement? In any case, Chu Xinghe's punishment is really convincing. Using the Haotian order without authorization, the punishment of 3 months of confinement, the first time in the history of the Haotian sect, but you are still not jealous. All the disciples of Lingcao Palace knelt down to beg, and all the elders of Lingcao Palace came to plead for Chu Xinghe. Is this popularity a matter of jealousy or not? Even many disciples outside Lingcao Palace stood up to support Chu Xinghe. Even when the matter was reported, the sect master just said that he knew it after listening, and had no intention of pursuing it further, so this result is set in stone. But when the news reached the outer gate, Chu Xinghe vomited another 2 tails of blood. Chu Xinghe is a dog thief. He is not what he seems. He is a despicable person at heart, and you are all deceived by his appearance. You are all deceived. Chu Xinghe shouted all day, but who would care, right? In the Medicine King Palace, the elder was teaching Chu Xinghe as usual, helping Chu Xinghe to master the inheritance of the medicine saint faster. The elder did not mention the previous incident, as if it had never happened, but the elder was still secretly observing Chu Xinghe, worried that this punishment would hit Chu Xinghe, but soon the elder was relieved. Because when he said or did something wrong, Chu Xinghe still escaped and confronted him head-on. Even if he said he would punish him, he still did not retreat. When other brothers made mistakes, he also jumped out to plead for mercy, not afraid of being punished at all. Seeing this, the elder sighed that God bless Haotian. This child is pure and sincere, and he did not suffer any blow because of this punishment. This shows that he recognizes his mistakes from the bottom of his heart, and is willing to be punished, without any resentment. This child is worthy of everyone's pleading for him. And this time the elder can also teach Chu Xinghe a good lesson to let him master the knowledge better. In the morning, he practiced Haotian's fighting spirit, and the elder watched it in person. In the afternoon, he studied the knowledge of fusion and alchemy, and the elder explained it in person. This is the treatment of his own son, Daxing Chamber of Commerce, Wei Deqian, who came back after delivering the goods. Still can't forget what happened in Lingcao Palace. Wei Deqian didn't know who Chu Xinghe was, but he knew that he was someone he couldn't afford to offend in his life, a person who could make the entire Lingcao Palace plead for him, provoked him. Do you believe that when Lingcao Palace chopped people for him, they were more ruthless than when they pleaded for him? Wei Deqian wrote Chu Xinghe's name in a small notebook, and at the same time told all the big shopkeepers under his command that there was a man named Chu Xinghe in Haotian sect, and they must not provoke him. Whoever provoked him should go home and hang himself, and don't let the Daxing Chamber of Commerce be affected. after explaining everything, Wei Deqian breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he put down the matter of Chu Xinghe, a servant came to report. Master, Elder Ma of Xingyue's sect is here. Ah! Hurry, please invite Elder Ma to the VIP room. I have already invited him, and I am waiting for you to go. Okay, let's go quickly. Wei Deqian got up quickly. Xingyue's sect, that was also someone he couldn't afford to offend. Xingyue's sect is one of the top 10 sects in the world. Although it is not as good as Haotian sect, it is also a giant. It is the kind that can destroy Daxing Chamber of Commerce with just a flick of its finger. Under normal circumstances, such a giant would ask for door-to-door service. Why did the elder come in person today? Arriving at the VIP room, Wei Deqian repeatedly apologized to Elder Ma and said that he was really rude for not being able to greet him from afar. Elder Ma sat on the chair and just glanced at Wei Deqian casually and waved his hand to signal Wei Deqian to sit down and talk. Wei Deqian, business has been booming recently. Haotian sect has purchased a lot from you. Elder Ma stroked his mustache and teased Wei Deqian. Elder Ma, you are joking. Daxing Chamber of Commerce is just a servant serving us big companies. The fact that we can earn some money is also the charity of a noble like Elder Ma. What virtue do I have, Wei Deqian, have? It's all because of Elder Ma's favor. Ha ha ha. Fatty Wei, you are such a big mouth. Elder Ma was so happy after hearing a few words. Elder Ma, you have come to visit me this time. I don't know if you have any instructions for me. Elder Ma, please speak and I will serve you. My Xingyue sect wants to purchase a batch of medicinal materials. Here is the list. Please prepare and send it to Xingyue sect. The price is the same as Haotian sect. I won't ask any more questions. Hey! Elder Ma, don't worry, the medicinal materials will be the same. Wei Deqian was about to say that he would send it over, but he was stunned when he saw the things on the list. Ma! Elder Ma! I dare to ask you to take a look at this list. The Shen Ling grass on it. Wei Deqian handed the list to Elder Ma. There was nothing he could do because everything else on the list was normal, but what was the hell with the 500,000 Shen Ling grass? Damn, you all like to make the same mistakes, right? Haotian sect purchased the wrong Shen Ling grass, and then your Xingyue sect also made a mistake. No need, the number of Shen Ling grass is correct, just prepare it according to the list. Elder Ma waved his hand to indicate that he didn't need to look at it anymore, but Wei Deqian cried when he heard Elder Ma's words. Elder Ma. Everything else is easy to say, but this Shen Ling grass. I really don't have it. No. Your Daxing Chamber of Commerce can't even get Shen Ling grass. Although 500,000 plants are a lot, it shouldn't be impossible to get them. Elder Ma frowned. Is this fat Wei tired of living? Wei Deqian's tears fell. Elder Ma. You don't know that it was not difficult for Daxing Chamber of Commerce to get 500,000 Shen Ling grass before, but a few days ago, Haotian sect purchased 3 million Shen Ling grass at one time. I almost bought all the Shen Ling grass that can be found on the market now. All Shen Ling grass is in Haotian sect. What? Elder Ma's face changed drastically when he heard this. Then how much can you get now? To be honest, let alone 500,000. I don't even have 5,000. Elder Ma was dumbfounded and glanced at Wei Deqian. This fat man definitely didn't have the courage to joke with him like this, so there was only one possibility. Could Haotian sect know about that matter? It's possible. With the Haotian sect's well-informed level, they must have known about it, and they bought all the Shen Ling grass first, which is to cut off their Xingyue sect's retreat. Elder Ma left Daxing Chamber of Commerce with a heavy heart. After all, he had to report this matter to the sect immediately. Wei Deqian sent Elder Ma away in fear. Just as he sat down to catch his breath, the guys came. Master, Elder Shangguan from Dongyue Pavilion is here. Ah! Wei Deqian was stunned. What happened today? These big shots are all sick, right? But Wei Deqian still hurried to the VIP room. After flattering Elder Shangguan also took out the purchase order. Just one look and Wei Deqian was stunned. There was still Shenling grass on the purchase order, and it was also a huge quota of 500,000 plants. Is there a ghost today? Shenling grass, which could not be sold before, has now become a thing for all parties to fight for. What's going on? You buy this thing to make straw sandals. Wei Deqian answered Elder Shangguan of Dongyue Pavilion in the same way. He was also shocked and left with a heavy heart. What happened? Wei Deqian was curious, but he didn't dare to let anyone ask. Is a small Daxing Chamber of Commerce qualified to ask about the affairs of the 10 major sects? Tired of living? But just when Wei Deqian was relieved again, work came again. Master. Elder Su from Baiming City is here. VIP room. Wei Deqian walked into the VIP room with a numb face, but the moment he entered, his face was full of smiles again. Flattery is a routine opening, followed by a familiar list, familiar Shenling grass, familiar answers, familiar worries. Wei Deqian was also worried. What special effects does Shenling grass weave straw sandals have? Or can eating Poshidan make you immortal? Otherwise, are the 10 major sects all sick? Chu Xinghe from Yaowang Palace was also worried. That's not right. I bought the Shenling grass and caused such a big loss to the sect. Why didn't the Doom Compass give me a reward? Chu Xinghe reacted. According to the routine, he was rewarded for being punished, but he was also rewarded for causing damage to the sect, so why didn't he get it? Chu Xinghe thought about this question for several days, and the only explanation he finally came up with was, although he bought too much Shenling grass, the price of that thing was there. Although it was piled up in the warehouse of the Medicine King Palace, it was also a fixed asset. The Doom Compass's way of calculating losses is not to say that you bought the wrong thing, but that you must lose it, even if you buy a bunch of waste with useful things. As long as the value does not change, it is not considered a loss. After calculating this way, Chu Xinghe understood that it seems that if you want to make the sect lose money, the procurement route is not feasible, and you must do something practical. Chapter 20 Senior Brother Xinghe has made another contribution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No one expected the elder to refuse. Clearly, the Haotian sect wanted to deal with the 3 million Shenling grass, but why did the elder answer like this when 3 families came to buy? Feng Fei was so anxious that he almost jumped up and down, but Chu Xinghe reacted quickly. There is a conspiracy. This is definitely a conspiracy. The elders of 3 of the 10 major sects appeared at the same time, and all wanted Shenling grass. This is obviously not right. Under normal circumstances, they don't need to come forward to buy Shenling grass. Just send a disciple to communicate with Feng Fei and it will be done. Although the amount is huge, there is no need for the elders to come in person, right? Elder, we have already been to Daxing Chamber of Commerce. Elder Ma seemed to have thought of the elder's answer and spoke directly. Oh. When did Fatty Wei learn to talk nonsense? Feng Fei, tomorrow you arrange someone to teach Fatty Wei a lesson. Yes. Feng Fei took the order. The elder drank tea leisurely, looking like he would not admit it no matter what you say. Finally, the most impatient Elder Shangguan could not help it. Elder, we are all wise people, so let's not pretend to be ignorant. The spirit cave was discovered by our 3 families. Haotian sect should also know that the spirit cave is full of petrified poisonous insects. Without the stone-breaking pill, disciples cannot enter at all. But Haotian sect's means of cutting off our retreat is a bit too much. As soon as Elder Shangguan said this, Elder Ma and Elder Su also nodded, but the elder was stunned. What the hell? Spirit cave? Chu Xinghe was also stupid. He didn't think about anything else when he bought Shenling grass. He just wanted to cheat Haotian sect. But who would have thought that he didn't cheat Haotian sect, but cheated the 3 families instead? The 3 families jointly discovered a spirit cave not long ago, but after exploring, they found that the underground spirit cave was full of small insects that could petrify and poison people. If you want to go in, you must prepare a large amount of stone-breaking pills. The 3 families agreed to prepare their own stone-breaking pills, but they never expected that when they bought Shen Ling grass, they found that Shen Ling grass was all taken by Haotian sect. The first reaction of the three families was that the news was leaked. Haotian sect must have known about the spiritual cave and forced the three families in this way, so the three elders went up the mountain together. Now that things have come to this, everyone has made it clear, the meaning of these three families is very clear. Since you Haotian sect already know, then we will not be hypocritical. The share of this spiritual cave will be divided equally among the four of us. Half. The elder put down the teacup and said. The elder is a bit too much. There are only 300 places in this spiritual cave. It is impossible for you Haotian sect to want half. Elder Shengguan was so angry that he wanted to smash the teacup. The atmosphere on the scene became a little tense, but in the end, Elder Ma sighed and said, 100. This time, the Haotian sect will take 100 places in the Lingkou. This is our limit. If the Haotian sect still does not agree, then we can only go to Woody City. I believe that with the foundation of Woody City, these Shenling grass may not be impossible to prepare. Deal. The elder did not hesitate for a moment. After completing the transaction, the elder also got all kinds of information about the Lingkou from the three people. At the same time, the elder waved his hand and said, what else do we need to buy for the 1.5 million Shenling grasses of our 10 major sects? We will give them to you. And not only will we give them to you, we will also help you refine the broken stone pill and give them to you at the same time. The elders of the three sects were so angry about the elder's package that their beards stood up. How much is 1.5 million Shenling grass? As for the so-called help in refining, is that help? It's because they are afraid that the three of us will let you Haotian sect down. As long as the broken stone pill is still in the hands of the Haotian sect, the three families will never be able to get rid of the Haotian sect. The elder smiled and escorted the elders of the three sects out of the gate of Haotian sect. After making sure that the three had left, the elder laughed wildly. Spiritual cave. The elder never dreamed that Chu Xinghe's random operation would accidentally choke the neck of the three sects and bring news of the spiritual cave to Haotian sect. The so-called spiritual cave is a place where some ancient relics are born after absorbing the essence of heaven and earth. The spiritual cave is most suitable for disciples who have just reached the great martial arts master level. With the spiritual liquid in the spiritual cave, these disciples can be cleansed and reborn, and the spiritual cave is extremely rare. Any family that discovers it will definitely keep it as a huge secret. This time, the three sects discovered the spiritual cave, and even the intelligence network of Haotian sect did not get any news. But man proposes, God disposes. Who would have thought that Chu Xinghe made a mistake in the purchase order, and the purchase of 3 million Shenling grass directly made all the plans of the three sects fall through. The three sects didn't know at all that Haotian sect bought Shenling grass by accident. After all, no one could have thought that Haotian sect would have such an accident, but this accident brought unimaginable benefits to Haotian sect. The elder reported the news to the sect master as soon as possible. After hearing what the elder said, Gu Mingqiao was stunned for a while. Chu Xinghe's purchase of 3 million Shenling grass was originally a huge mistake, but now, this mistake has become a great opportunity for Haotian sect. Gu Mingqiao can only say that this is probably destiny. Then the elder informed the various palaces of the news of the spirit cave. As soon as the news came out, the various palaces were also shocked. First, the elders of each palace. This time the 100 quotas will be allocated to each palace, which means that each palace can benefit from it. After their disciples have undergone marrow washing and bone cutting, the future cultivation path will be smoother. This is a great opportunity. When the elders of each palace heard that all this was because Chu Xinghe accidentally bought 3 million Shenling grass, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and the disciples of each palace were extremely excited when they heard the news. Although there are only 100 people who can go to the spirit cave to wash the marrow and cut the bones this time, for the 3,000 new disciples of Haotian sect, most of these 100 quotas may not even be qualified to grab them, but don't forget that the spiritual liquid in the spirit cave can still be brought back even after being diluted for marrow washing and bone cutting. Relying on the remaining spiritual energy to refine it into a marrow washing pill with the method of refining medicine, although it is a gap from direct marrow washing and bone cutting, it is definitely a rare treasure. so Chu Xinghe's unintentional move not only brought 100 quotas for marrow washing and bone cutting in the spirit cave, but also allowed all the new disciples to get a marrow washing pill. For a while, the entire Haotian sect was filled with joy, but in this joyous atmosphere, Chu Xinghe didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was so hard for me. I just wanted to buy 3 million Shenling grasses to cause some losses to the sect, so what, now there is no loss, and a spiritual cave was created. The only thing that made Chu Xinghe happy was that because of the spiritual cave, his confinement was cancelled in advance, and under the suggestion of the great elder, Chu Xinghe became the leader of the 100 people this time. Chu Xinghe looked serious. Let me be the leader, right? I will lead you all into the ditch.